Welcome to Tunic, a little game that is about a little fox guy waking up in a fantasy world, tasked to navigate the world and fight off enemies that you encounter with little to no information about the world you're exploring. I only ever heard about Tunic in different showcases like PlayStation State of Play, gameplay trailers, and from a Nintendo Direct, and always wanted to play it, but never got around to it and never watched any gameplay or looked anything up about it. I only came around to playing the game while playing different games, like Lies of P, which you could play on Game Pass without paying full price, but Game Pass came with 100 extra games or something like that, and one of those games was Tunic, and instead of playing Lies of P, I chose to play Tunic completely blind, which was such a great decision. Exploration in Tunic is really different in my opinion from other games. I really went into this game blind. Tunic starts you out with no information whatsoever, to the extent of having its own language with only a few words here and there. You spawn in, walk around, and start trying to piece everything together, which creates this weird feeling of being alone. Even though there are some enemies like slimes and dudes who wield swords, your basic enemy types, the overall vibe is that you are alone with no help until you start picking up pages of the guidebook, which we will get into later. The way the world leads you into different locations feels so natural, like you are discovering it for yourself, and you will go down one path thinking that you are taking a detour only to find that it leads to a key item or a different path that gets you to your desired location. It feels just so rewarding. This leads us into our next topic, how the map seamlessly connects to each other. You make your way intuitively just to find that there's a hole in the wall that you couldn't see that ended up being a shortcut. The isometric camera perspective unlocks different gameplay avenues, which teaches the player to look for shortcuts on their own, adding an extra layer to the game, which teaches the player to look for shortcuts on their own, adding an extra layer to the game. Tunic also has target lock just like Legend of Zelda and Dark Souls. There are a lot of little hidden pathways and shortcuts that are hidden from your point of view, and you don't really notice it until the game shows you. Then it starts making your brain active. You start running into walls to see if you can find the next shortcut, to be surprised once again because you didn't think to check the wall again, which is actually hiding a shortcut. The game doesn't give you a hint that there might be a shortcut, so you really don't get that brain blast moment until it's revealed to you. It just makes the world feel so alive, adds to the feeling of being alone, at least for me. Finding these shortcuts was so cool. They were hidden in plain sight. It gave me a sense of accomplishment that I haven't felt in another game before. This might be more of an art style commentary than what I had in my notes for this video essay. Each area is different and unique, but not just by biome. The architecture of the buildings and biomes are unique themselves and add so much character to each region. The first main area you're given access to feels like a small village like in Legend of Zelda's Link's Awakening, but abandoned and run over by enemies. It feels like in a time before it was a nice, peaceful place to live. You can imagine people running around and enjoying themselves. It really gives this melancholic feeling in the present time, which just adds to the world. The next area we got is the West Garden, which, my goodness, the feeling of this place is amazing. It has these pink trees all over the place, pink petals floating in the air around and landing in the water. The buildings are overgrown as if plant life has taken over the area. The buildings and bridges are falling apart, and some have already fallen into the water, even with enemies being there. And with the introductions of new enemy types, this place feels so peaceful and calm. It's a nice calm before the storm. There's a boss battle, which also adds to the character of the world. It feels like a boss was once a protector of the garden, but now is an enemy, which is super cool. Onto the forest area, which is a mystical and enchanting in a way. It is the first area the game leads you to after a bit of exploration. It also is where you get to switch out your stick for a sword, which is super cool. In addition to the damage boost, it helps you explore more of the map, being able to cut down bushes and unlocking even more of the forest, giving you more exploration power. And this is only the first part of the forest area. There's a second part of the forest area that you unlock later in the game that changes the vibe just a little bit. If anything, it just adds more to the mystical feeling, because the enemies you are fighting are cultists and they are defending their temple. It's a harsh contrast though. In the boss fight, there is a metal platform before the fight starts, and when the fight starts, nothing about the boss is mystical. It's all machine-like. The boss's name is Siege Engine. There's nothing mystical about that name, but it gives you hints that there are more to the story than being a cute fantasy adventure game. While the forest itself isn't too out of the norm, how it's used and the enemies that are added really add to the mystical feeling. The boss fight is really cool twist too. The guidebook might be my favorite feature of this game. The way it adds and helps exploration in such a natural way is crazy, and it doesn't break the flow of gameplay. During the exploration, you start off with only so many pages of the guidebook. Throughout the map, there are pages you can add to the guidebook that give you the story, how the gameplay works, the different maps of different areas. For me, I found most of these pages out of order, but that didn't break the gameplay. In fact, it added to it. It's such a unique way to present information to the players, because even though it shows you what you could do next, it's only through pictures. As I mentioned earlier, you can't read the language the game uses. Granted, I know there are people who translate everything from the guidebook so we can understand it, but one, I haven't read any of that, and two, I went into this game blind. It's super cool how the game makes the player put the clues together, whether it's to find out where to go or what to do next. It can give you more lore and background information about the land and what your role is in the story. I would love to go more in depth here, but I want you guys to experience it yourself without any real knowledge of what to expect. To sum up everything, I really love the way exploration has been done. Everything just gives you an aha moment because each area of the game pieces together so nicely. Even though I didn't cover them all here, the areas I did cover are just so cool, and the atmosphere they give off is superb. I really recommend everyone try this game. I also advise that you don't look anything up while playing, even if it's your first time playing it. In fact, I chose not to discuss many details for the sake of you guys enjoying the game as blindly as possible. If there's anything you think I missed, or have any additional thoughts, please share. I'm super interested in what you guys have to say. Thank you for watching.